G'day folks, Greg Budd from Bud's Baits here. Welcome to the African Lure Craftsman. In the ensuing episodes, we'll be taking you along while we design and handcraft timber lures and hopefully get out into the water to use them. I've designed lures for some of the big boys in the industry and I sell my lures worldwide. I'll do my best to show you some of the hacks I've learned along the way. Stay with us and experience the wonders of casting lures to bass, giant catfish, tigerfish in Zimbabwe, which I'm fortunate to call my home, and cross borders with us as we'll target the denizens of the deep all along the African coast in magical places such as Mozambique. Through it all, I'll share a bit of my daily life and business experience, which can be quite tough in Zimbabwe at times, as we take you along to run the daily gauntlet of survival. Subscribe and click the notifications button to stay with us. Hey guys, welcome back to the African Lure Craftsman. We have the Garfish Build in front of us, the various bits and pieces here. Sorry, wrong way. And we have done a little bit more work on it. But firstly, what I'd like to do is thank you all for the fantastic response to the question we asked last episode, which was, do we do it without the bib or with the bib? We had a majority of with the bib, and we had quite a few guys who said without the bib. And the funny thing is, I agree with everyone. I think some of the other suggestions that were made as well were fantastic. There were various suggestions that the side fins might be getting in the way, and that it's true to a degree that they do impede the action a little bit, but I found not enough to justify taking them off and losing the aesthetic of having those pec fins on there. Another suggestion was using acrylics instead of the polycarbonate, and that is a very, very valid suggestion as well. Obviously, anything that's rigid like this is going to have some effect on the swim pattern of the lure. Unfortunately, in Zimbabwe, again, and I'm always using this excuse, you just don't have any availability of anything, and you can't actually order off Amazon. They don't allow you to order from Zimbabwe. So I haven't got the soft acrylic that would be necessary, and that acrylic, by all accounts, and Chris, thank you very much for the suggestion there, would be carvable clear acrylic that could be fitted pretty much as you would fit the polycarbonate, and I'm sure it would make a difference. But I think we're going to take into account all the suggestions, and I think we're going to go with an attempt at something, leaving the fins as is. What I have done though in the interim is I've made a couple of little clip-on props. So obviously this tail here is going to have a little bit of an effect on having a paddle tail. Donald, thanks very much for that suggestion, and it's a very good one as well. But I've made this little item here that will clip on the tail, just so we can go and test it in the pool and get that working. It should be straight, dead on, I think. Yeah, it should be, because I did the pre-work before. It is absolutely angled straight. We can adjust the angle a bit, and we can just see what it does. After that, we can even come back to the workshop and we can actually adjust the size. That might be a little bit big, just to see what actions we do get out of this, because I think it's very important that we all learn as we're going along on this build what you can and can't do. And there's no can't, sorry, that was the wrong word there, because I have tested this already and it does provide another action to this lure. I don't think it's what I'm going for at the moment. Any paddle, if you imagine the original paddle tails, the soft paddle tails, you've got a very flexible body, and that paddle tail just flicks from side to side, while the lure itself on the lead head will stay pretty rigid. On my stutter step, for instance, which I designed for Bill Lewis America, that's got a paddle tail. And the idea was to incorporate a paddle tail onto a hard body lure and a surface lure, although I did try it with many, many variants, and I've still got in my arsenal of lures inside there many subsurface suspending, sinking lures that have a paddle tail on it, and it provides a fantastic action of those. Those I'll develop later, and often there isn't enough time to go back into that stuff, but we'll get to it one day. But for the time being, let's give this a go. We'll give this a go in the pool. We'll see how it goes. We'll see what other actions it provides. I don't think I'm going to go with it, but it'll be very interesting just to have a look at it. The other thing I thought we could do as well is I made this so it would fit both that section or the little anal fin here as well, and that clips on quite nicely there, in which case we leave this tail off just to see what it does there. In other words, pretending we didn't have that polycarbonate on the back there, because I don't think that little section is going to be too important for this test. But let's go give that a go, and we can see what it does, and then we can get back to the workshop. I have also made the bib, which we were going to go through, with the neck on it here, which we're going to insert into the lure. I haven't yet cut the slot, which is going to go around the wire. And what I was thinking we could try and do, and please don't, this isn't set in stone, is I was thinking we could make a bib that can be removed. Jan from Germany had said that he didn't think it was a great idea, because maybe that the little bits and pieces, you tend to leave them in your tackle box, lose them, various things like that, and it's a very valid point. I agree on that. I've got lots of swim baits inside with replacement tails, and I hate lugging those replacements around, or pins and various things like that. But I think just for the challenge, it might be a good idea to make something that you can remove, and then thereby have both actions that we showed you last week. But anyway, for now, let's get to the pool and let's just see what this temporary tail does on this lure. Okay guys, here we are at the swimming pool, still as disgusting as ever. We've got our very temporary tail. It's a very downward angle at the moment. I'm hoping that stays, it will stay on there, yes. Let's try it like this, just see what's going to happen. As we've said before, this will have an effect, obviously, to some degree, but that'll give us an idea of what action this will create. I'm suspecting a little bit of a side to side on the tail with the joins here, and then we'll remove this entirely and just put it on there and just see if it makes any difference. Probably about the same action, I'd imagine, but let's give that a go quickly. Okay, we have her in the water. Nothing. Lifts the tail. Very wide, lifting the tail. Let's let it sink a little bit. No, don't like that much. I think it has a place for some baits, but not on this particular one. Actually makes the whole tail lift up to the top. So he doesn't want to do anything. So on this particular bait, and largely because of that angle, it just makes the tail rise out of the water, as you can see, and then stops working. I think if we had a bit more depth on the bait, it would work a little bit better. But it's going to eventually come to the top anyway, the surface. Very wide side to side, which is not quite what we're trying to achieve with this. So let's just give it a go the other way on the second section, just to see if that does make a difference. So I'm going to remove this section here, remove that from there. We can try another angle as well. Let's just put that in the pocket. Clip this on here. We'll do a bit of a more slanted angle. I know this is testing though. This is what I do often, is just play around with different things, different ideas. So we've got a bit of a slanted angle there. It's quite rigid. So let's throw that in the pool and just give that a turn. Yeah, same. So we've got pretty much the same thing here. A very wide side to side wobble. In fact, it even turned there, right over. So yeah, I think on this one, that paddle tail is too large. I mean, there's no doubt some fish would hit that, there's no doubt. And certainly if we were making something for muskie, pike, bass even, they're going to give that a whack like that, there's no doubt. A slow retrieve, but not quite what we want for this bait yet. So we're back in the workshop, fellas. We've got our tiny little bib, which I'm going to right now take to the sander, and I'm going to reduce it to about half the size. I don't think we're going to go with it, but I think it's very interesting just to see what it does and what the different effects of size and angle have on a particular lure like this. So let's get that done quickly on the sander, and we'll get back to the pool, slip it on there and give it a go. Okay, so we've cut this down to size. As you can see, it's about half the size of the original. Just again, a test. Let's see what it does. We'll clip it on the tail. I don't think it's necessary to try and both because we're getting pretty much the same action out of both of them. So let's just clip it on there without getting the hooks in our fingers, which we're currently doing. Adjust that angle a bit and let's give that a go. I think what I'll do is try it straight, just so you don't get that lift and the lift on the tail. More of a wake sort of bib. So we're going to try it straight on like that. Just see what action that gives this. Okay, let's give that a go. Nothing. Okay. So right now, no, that's deadening the whole lure, all the action at the moment. So what I'm going to do is take it out. Yeah, doing nothing there. And I'm going to adjust that angle back to what it was. So our angle is now slightly slanted backwards, just rather than flat. Let's give that a go. Okay, we're achieving exactly the same thing as before. It's just a wide side to side of that tail section, kind of wanting to spin the lure around. So I don't think that's the way to go on this bait. I think what I might do in the future is make another one, maybe not a garfish. We'll do another build and we'll do a paddle tail. There's no doubt that action would work, but not for what we want to right now. Not for what we want. Yeah. There was a comment, I think it was from Manny, I think it was, about the bib and the integrity of the bib if we install it in here. Firstly, I've got no worries about the strength of the polycarbonate. The polycarbonate is literally bulletproof. You won't break that. You might bend it, but you won't break it. My concern would be more the integrity of the head of the lure, but we're going to try and fit in such a way around the wire so we don't affect that. So I think the strength would be there. And, you know, only time will tell. I mean, I guess if a 50 kg dogtooth tuna bit it around the head, it might actually break it, or even your GT have got an incredible jaw strength. So maybe, but it is what it is at the moment. We're going to, we're building a aesthetically pleasing garfish bait. We're trying to make it swim. We've done the wire through, so I think let's just go for it. I don't think it'll break. I might be wrong, but I'm quite confident in the strength of that. I think for that, let's just do a little demo. So this is, I think, 2 mil, 2.5, 3 mil. Just get the vernier quickly, if I remember correctly. What have we got there? 3 mil. This is 3 mil polycarbonate, which I bought in sheets actually. I think I had to buy I think it was a 2 meter by 1 meter sheet of this stuff, and I cut it into manageable blocks. And what I'll do with this, for those who don't know, and there's many out there I know who do, let's just give it a bit of a strength test. Firstly, bending it and breaking it. You can bend it like that, but it's very, very difficult to bend. Let's just see, and let's hope I haven't mixed up my polycarbonate with my Perspex. Let's get a hammer test and give this a go. So what I'm going to do, let's get a couple of my wire bending jigs here, just as some sort of base on which to demonstrate it. Going to be a bit noisy, and I think firstly, let's just give it a bit of a hit with the hammer, see what happens. And that's pretty hard. Okay, we've got a small bend out of it there. I don't know if you can see that. We've got 2 little dents in it, and those were pretty hard smacks there. So what I want to do now is let's just put it in between these and let's just hit it on one side. It's going to bend, there's no doubt. And let's just see what we can do. I don't know if you guys can see that there, but I'm going to give it a bit of a... Oh, so you won't even do anything there. Let's hold it firmly, not hit our fingers. Okay, it moved inside. Oh, can I hold it firm enough? Yeah, it just wants to move, but as you can see, it's pretty tough. It just bends down. Okay, so that's what we've managed there. We've got a 5-degree bend in it. This stuff is absolutely bulletproof. I could probably even straighten it, I'm sure. Let's see what we can do. Yeah, you can straighten it quite easily. And there we have. So that's why I like to use polycarbonate for bib lures when I'm making them, which I haven't done for years. But anyway, this is a first, actually. There we go. Yeah, such a very, very awesome material to actually use. Can't wait to get my hands on the acrylic, though, for swim baits. That'll be fantastic. So guys, we're back from the swimming pool. We've tried the 2 different paddle tail type sections on the back of the lure, and whilst it gives it a decent action, we've concluded that it's not exactly right for this bait. I think it does have a place for other lures, and definitely has a place in many swim bait type lures, particularly if it is that acrylic, the softer material as well. But there's so much you can do. But I think it was a nice little break from doing what we're doing on the Garfish, just to go and check these other things. And thanks, Donald, for the suggestion of that. I think it might come into play somewhere else. So where do we go from here, guys? I think what we're going to do, and I've just had a brainwave. I've been sitting around thinking for two days, how do I make a removable bib? I know we've agreed already that having extra parts are a little bit of a pain, but I think the challenge is worthwhile. So what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and make this so that bib can clip in and clip off, and I think I've hit the nail on the head right now. It's going to require a little bit of precise work off camera, but I can run through right now exactly what I'm going to do. So as we know, the wire runs straight through this lure to that final section there. So everything's in one piece, everything's connected. We know that we can't put a bib in like that because the wire will be in the way. So we're going to cut a slot down the middle of this bib here that can go around the wire. What does that do? We've already tested the flexibility of this polycarbonate. It means that these 2 end bits here will flex on the corners here. So if I make another one with a slightly longer stem or neck, so to speak, and flanged on the outside, that it clips into a recess, you can basically push it in. Because of the wider end here, it'll just clip in on the back of the head here, and then you can, with some force, just pull it out when you want to. I think that's the way to go. And I don't think it's going to break under pressure from fish and things like that. I could always be wrong. I think one of the big things is admitting that can happen. But I think for the challenge, let's do it. And then we get the best of both worlds. We get that nice gliding, jerking action that we can use on this bait, and we get the trolling or casting action that we can use with the bib. So I think that's what we're going to do now. And to start, let's figure out where we're going to recess it. I know where it was. It was just in front of the lead here. And I think we're going to start cutting that hole now. So let's get on to that. Before we do that, there was another grand suggestion from Chris in the United States, and that was the weighting. And he's very correct in saying that perhaps one of the things we could do to improve the action without the bib was to remove every second weight. So basically we'd remove that, and we'd remove that one there. So basically you just have it weighted unevenly. Too stable is what he said at the moment, and that's probably got a lot of truth to it as well. So my answer to Chris, and one of the reasons I did try and play around with weighting before we even got onto camera last week, but one of the reasons I've had trouble with this is because of that internal wire configuration. The wire configuration, if you remember the big V's, takes up a lot of the space internally on the body. I can go wider. We can undo this work, but it will mean a lot of reshaping here. I think I'm going to forego that for the time being satisfied with what we've achieved so far. And the other thing I even tried was getting my tungsten bass leads just to try and add more weight, because once we've removed those sections, we couldn't get this in that sinking slow sink or that suspending mode. we couldn't weight it sufficiently enough. The tail was just straight up on the water like that. So I think we're going to leave it as is for now. Thanks, Chris, for that suggestion as well. But we're going to go with the removable bib section purely for the challenge, and we're going to see what we can do with that. So let's get down to that now. So we've got our bib. I firstly want to say it's not entirely 100% even, but that I'll fix once we've got it secured to the lure. We've got it for all intents and purposes pretty much how we want it. What I'm going to do quickly now is just by eye, I probably should do this with a ruler, is draw a center line about the width of what we want to cut out. And I think that's pretty spot on. I might be wrong. Just have a look at that like that. That's spot on. So I'm going to use it as a guideline. I'm going to cut that slot in this bib quickly now. It's probably not wide enough, but we can take the rest out with a file and with our little paddle with sandpaper. So let's get that done quickly. Back to the trusty Maturk rotary tool. Hold this firmly without cutting ourselves. Finesse, I think, is needed. Guys, I probably have this in a vise, would be easier, but I'm just going to do it by hand quickly. I was saying how not to cut like this last week, but I haven't really got a choice at the moment, so I'm going to do it very, very slowly. Love this rotary blade with the rough outside. Which is kind of like a file. Okay, there we go. Turn it off. And what we've got there is a center line slightly off. I can see that. We'll fix it with a file. That will technically go around our wire. We did experiment with this piece earlier, and why I cut it into that section is because basically it would make something as thick as that. We can see how strong that is already, and bearing in mind that the top of the bib here will be inserted into the body as well, so it's going to give that integrity. Let's just file those edges off. Doesn't matter if I get scratches up here, it's going to be hidden. Okay, that side's alright. The file fits perfectly in there. And I don't think that's wide enough for our wire yet. I'll have to work on it more. Let's get a nice grip on this, sorry. While I'm doing this, guys, some news about Ralphie. Sadly, Ralphie was diagnosed with cancer. So he's undergoing treatment at the moment. We're hoping we caught it early enough. What was originally diagnosed as degenerative elbow disease were actually tumors, which were missed, which I'm a little bit miffed about, but we've got to do what we've got to do. So he's had his first chemo on Friday. He's improved a great deal, I must say. So yeah, your best wishes and prayers for him would be appreciated. He's right behind me over there at the moment, having a nice rest. Okay, guys, so that's all we need to do at the moment. Get those burrs off there again from the file. And there we have it. We have our slotted bib. I think you can see where I'm going with this. What I'll be doing is probably, as I say, making another one, but just to see where we can go with a slightly longer stem. And then what I'll do is I'll put recesses in the ends here that can just clip into place on possibly pins there, so I can just clip in and out. So let's get to the lure now, and let's cut the slot, or start cutting the slot for the bib. Okay, firstly pen. Oh, I love this sort of work. Makes you so nervous sometimes that you're going to mess up. but I think we're all getting like that. I can see the mark where we had the bib glued on there. I've just sanded it down a bit there, and the bib was precisely where that black mark is there. We need it to be about the same width. It's going to go into the gill slightly, not much. Have we got that straight? Not quite. But that's the great thing about tools, particularly needle files and Dremels, is you can straighten these things up a bit later. That's perfect. Let us put the lid back on here and start cutting that, which I really don't know how I'm going to do right now, but I think what I'll do is I'm going to start a recess with the same tool here, just so we've got a pilot mark to start drilling. So let's do that. Oh, our angle was, get the angle right, and that's going to be hard, so I'm going to have to do it that way. Quite hard, guys. Actually, I'm trying to hold this at the angle for the camera, so can't really see what I'm doing. But just so you guys can get a better look, and I had, oh, burning super glue in my eye right then. Okay, that gives us the pilot mark we need. That's fine. Now let's change to a drill bit. Now I've got a 3mm here. It's 3mm polycarbonate. The problem with that is you never get an exact 3mm hole. Should I be concerned about that? Should I drill pilot holes first? I think I should. So let me do that. I can change to a much smaller bit. We can get those holes drilled at the right angle. Get that out of there. Like a pin. Get the right angle. Going to hit the wire at some point here, I think. So that one's a little bit harder, but done. Okay, that'll do for now, guys. Let's get back to the bigger bit. Toing and froing again, but hey, par for the course, I guess. Get that a little bit shorter. I don't like having too long a bits out. Okay, and let's get these holes dug. Oh, that's the problem. I'm going to hold that with my finger. Turn that off. That does happen, guys, so I wouldn't worry too much. Let's get some more power on there. Good thing about this tool is it turns off when that happens. I've had Dremels and other types of tools which don't, and it's a real hassle, including one time when I put a drill bit through my thumb, and now I had to leave the tool alone and somehow get to the off button, which was quite painful, I must say. Let's try that. Oh, super glue in my eyes. Ah, wow, that stings. Okay, there's our wire there, guys, so we can't go much deeper than that. We haven't actually affected it, so now comes the hard stuff, which I think a lot of I'm going to do off camera because it's going to take a while to get that precise and get that fitted in there perfectly. I think you can see where we're going. Gonna have to widen this slot here. Gonna have to take that back a little bit and widen this a little bit, and then to make those edges absolutely flat. But we're not finished for today, because that, as I say, as it's going to take some time, we'll do off camera. We'll show you exactly what we've done next week. But I think what we can do, another little hack today, is we can get this primed. A lot of guys are waiting, including myself, to see this. Sorry guys, my eyes are watering from that super glue. Wow. A lot of guys are waiting to see this looking pretty and beautiful, as am I, as I said. I can't wait to get the foil on there, start hand detailing it, getting the paint on. Yeah, so I think what we're going to do now is let's prime it. What I use for that, I've said before on all my baits, is I use Auto MS primer. MS is a filling primer, so what it means is it goes on, it adheres to most surfaces, including metals and things like that. And for wood, I find it fantastic because it fills that grain perfectly. Guys have asked me before, how do I get my foil so smooth? MS primer and coating. Sandback, MS prime, coat. So let's get that done. A little hack for that. How do we avoid getting the paint on the wires? This is not foolproof. I think a lot of guys use this technique. We'll get that off first, but what we do is we put rubber bands over there and we just slot them into place. You will get recesses or areas that are now covered that haven't got any paint on it. I normally just touch those up with a brush before the final sand down. So what I'll do is I'll just show you how we do that quickly. Hey dogs, come on boys. As we just get those in there and we carry on doing that until it's tight. And what it does as well is it makes the bait rigid so you can paint it easier. And what we do here is we just push the rest of it in with a tool of some sort, and that protects those wires perfectly, and it's not in the way. We could have probably gone one more time there. I'm not going to bother too much about that. As I say, the paintbrush comes out later and we hand paint those areas. Gets a bit harder as you get closer to the center of the lure, because obviously you've got to stretch it further, but hey, that's what rubber bands are for, I guess. There we go. There we go. There we go. Wow. Okay. That was a bit sore. Let's get that in there. That's perfect. Nice and rigid. Now, good thing about this system is you just cut this afterwards. Cut one of the strands of the elastic band, and the whole thing comes off with little prompting. Turn that again. I think that should do it on this guy. One more we're going to manage. Around there, that's perfect. Rigid as ever, tucked away. On a good note, guys, I've got a little bit of news, as I've got another secret bait that I've been designing that has not met approval yet with a large manufacturer, but is going to be undergoing evaluation soon. These things take time, and I can tell you the process is a long one. Not only the design, but then the testing. This is quite hard to get over here, but we'll do it. And then the process of evaluation can take longer as well. And it's normally about a year minimum before you'll get something from drawing board into the hands of someone, then probably about another year before it goes to manufacture. So anyway, it's good to have those things happening though. There we go, guys. As you can see, how easy is that to paint? I mean, rigid as ever. Can just basically hold that. But there's one thing we have to do before we do that, is mask these various fins, which I'll just normally use masking tape for. Line it up as best you can, like so. Okay, wrap that. That's come up a bit. We can put a little bit more on there. Actually, just move it now. Okay, wrap that around, holding it on this corner because that tends to lift. because of the angle of the fin, of the leading edge of the fin, as you can see lifting already. So just leave a little bit of slack there. There we go. Get that down. Okay, that's our primary cover. But what we'll do is we'll put another one on there as well. Then we'll just trim this a bit later. Okay, now I'm going to try and get things precise. Yeah, there we go. That's better. Down here. Doesn't matter about the wrinkles here. And it's masking tape sticks to masking tape better than it does to poly. So let's do that around here. There we go. And finally, there, don't worry about this mess up here. As I say, scissors, we trim it off anyway. These are blunt as ever, but I'm sure they'll do. Oh, there we go. All right. Trim that, and it's manageable. So we're at the spray booth now. Got a little bottle here. I use these over and over again. They're plastic. I don't like using plastic, but it's what we have to do. Going to mix a bit of MS. I've just got in a coffee jar here. I've given it a bit of a mix. I'm going to do this by eye, guys. The mixture is 4:1 though. When you're priming, I don't find it's that. And this stuff is thickened a bit as well, so it doesn't really matter. We'll give it a good shake. We don't need a lot, so I'm just going to go with that amount there. Looks very stodgy, but don't worry, it'll work. That's all we need for now. And your mixtures for your MS, though it's a 4:1, don't have to be absolutely precise. If you go heavy on the hardener, it doesn't matter. It's all getting sanded off anyway. So here's our hardener. Nash is a local Zim company, so for all my undercoatings and primings I just use the local stuff. For the outer coats and the 2K clears I use imported. The local stuff's not terrible, but certainly isn't the quality of the imported stuff with the clear coats. So by eye I would say a tiny bit more. There we go. That is plenty. So what I'll do is I've got 2K thinners in this bottle. Get a bit of a mix in there to thin the solution. Get the lid on. Lesson I learned a long time ago. Always put lids on everything immediately, because of the amount of clothes I've ruined by leaving something open and then knocking it. Too much to mention. And then just give this a good shake. Give it a really good shake until it's mixed properly. With your 2K guys and most paints, or all paints, wear a mask. I'm going to put a mask on now because this gets quite intense, so I won't be able to talk much, but we'll just get that done. Great thing about this is as soon as you get an even coat on any lure, it shows all the imperfections. The priming does that, and I find the white coat does it even more. I mean, you'll see bumps that you haven't seen before because of the contrast. It just enables you to see more imperfections than you have as a natural lure or as a primed lure. But this does help as well. So I think that's mixed enough, plenty. Let's get that into the airbrush. It's all primed and ready to go. Old trusty, faithful, no-name brand SGA 130K. See how it's spraying perfectly. Get the mask on. Showing imperfections already. It'll also show the detail quite well. Don't worry about the wires, clean it up later. Don't worry about your wires internally either, because they're covered. Get a little bit in there. Don't worry about pooling the paint and stuff. We're not at that stage yet where we need finesse. We're just trying to get all the imperfections filled. The lure is sealed already. There we have it. We've done our MS primer on the swim bait. I've done the end section as well. We masked off everything, all the polycarbonate bits, and we wrapped elastics around the wires. I did spray in there. The rubber bands enable you to do that, but I can just cut them off later and touch up with a brush so we don't affect or get the wires bunged up. And I think from here we're going to almost call it quits for this week. What we are going to do though, in the meantime and off camera, is I'm going to take this bait, I'm going to obviously let this dry a bit more, I'm going to sand down the MS, I'll give it another coat of MS. Before I do that though, I'll fill in any imperfections, if there's any little marks or bumps or anything on there, and I'll also give it a white coat, so that next week what we'll have in front of us is we'll have this ready to foil with the bib fitted in place. And I had a bit of a brainwave because I was saying earlier how we put two little nodules on the outer ends of these. We don't. We just cut a wider recess in the middle of this to accommodate the wire inside, and what it'll do is clip over the wire. That'll keep it firmly in place. That's the idea now. I'm going to play with that idea. And therefore we'll be able to remove this bib, we'll get the best of both worlds as said before, and we'll be ready to go and almost ready to fish it. So guys, if you enjoyed this episode, click like, subscribe, share, and join us next week as we start putting the paint and the foil and everything else onto this little guy. Cheers for now.